So I just picked up this new body, the Canon EOS RP, and it feels good, feels light. I have pretty small hands myself. I could tell you that my hands are fairly small, and this actually fits my hand really well, and I could put my pinky under here to sort of like manage the weight a little bit better, and it feels pretty good overall. It feels sturdy, feels like probably it is actually one of the highest quality cameras that I've ever had. I usually end up getting the, kind of the higher end of the consumer grade. Right now I'm shooting this on a Canon T7i, which I've had for a few years. It's been great, but a couple things happened. Number one, well, I like gear. I like getting new stuff. But the other thing is I've been shooting a lot of sort of talking head videos, right? And I have like a teleprompter there. I've been doing like a lot of course material. So I have been using this camera to record that material, and I have to hook it up to the tripod, to the teleprompter, take it in and out, and I have to thread it carefully. And it takes like a few minutes every time I have to put it in or take it out or whatever. So it's kind of slowing down my whole process. And I started looking to get a second body, maybe even a T7i replacement. Not a replacement, but a duplicate, or just something similar, right? Something really similar. And as I started looking, I was like, oh, I have a ton of options if I want to move up. I started investigating the RP as it was showing up in searches, and this is a full frame sensor. So I've been using T2i before the T7i, which is the smaller APS sensor, which is fine. They do a great job, but I have been doing more photography generally, and I enjoy photography. The other, trigger, which is kind of a weird reason, another reason why I got this camera is it uses the same battery as the T7i. So on a practical standpoint, I was like, if I get another camera, I could get like an older model, I can get a newer one, but I'm like, I don't want to have like multiple different batteries where I'm going on vacation and I'm thinking, did I pick up the right battery? I've got the wrong charger, blah, blah, blah. So from that standpoint, I was like, I kind of want to stick to a camera that is using the same battery, and the RP uses the same battery as the T7i. And apparently the battery life is a little bit crappy for this camera with this small little battery. But you know what? I have more batteries. I already have several of them. So I'm gonna grab one that's already charged up and start playing with it a little bit. Now, a couple quick impressions. This is a smaller body in general compared to the T7i. I think they roughly weigh about the same. I don't have the specs right in front of me, but they weigh roughly about the same. And it's a lighter camera. The mirrorless cameras are a little bit lighter in general than the DSLRs, which is what I have used since I got like nicer cameras. That said, all the lenses that were out looked beautiful, right? Beautiful lenses for the RF mount. However, they look so big. So whenever they got out this little sexy body, it's light, it's lean, it's ready for travel. I was like, I could see, throwing that in the backpack, flying, like, it's light, it's fantastic. The lenses are beasts. The lenses look hilarious on top of a mirrorless camera like this. So as I was browsing around, I ran across the 35mm right here, the 35mm 1.8, which is light. It's actually like about 10 ounces. I happen to remember that. And I like fast glass. I really like the low, the very wide, bright aperture settings. In fact, I'm shooting this right now on a Sigma 18 to 35 1.8, which is beautiful. It's heavy, but it's beautiful. It looks really good. It can let in a ton of light. I don't have to, fuss around with as much lighting setup for shooting vlogs or video or whatever. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, all right, if I'm going to spend the money on an RP, if I'm going to go that route and it's actually lighter, why don't I look at like a lighter lens as well? So I'm pretty happy with, the size and weight, and both of these are refurbished and they 100% look brand new, other than the packaging, which totally confused me. I was happy to see the sticker on the side, by the way, because I was like, did they ship the wrong thing to me? So I'm gonna pop in a battery, pop in a memory card here, and play around with it a little bit. Before I do that and then give you some impressions, I have another couple lenses. I just want to compare the size of this here, the 35mm, to the other lenses that I have. And I think it's pretty close to the same size as it is an EFS 10 to 18 millimeters. So it's a really nice vlogging lens. And I think this is about the same size and weight. So let's see. And let me take off the lens hood here. So yes, they appear to be roughly the same size. It looks like the 35mm is a little bit wider in diameter, and the zoom, this the 10 to 18 is a little bit longer. I do have a filter on the 10 to 18 here, but it sure does seem like they're roughly the same size, roughly the same weight. If I had to guess, I think the 35 is a little bit heavier. I love the low light capability for the 1.8 lenses. And this was, I think it is the cheapest RF lens currently. And it's the lightest. It'll be perfect for travel. I actually have a trip coming up for a few days here. So it'll be lighter than my other setup. And you know, when I first got into photography, I got that first DLR. Actually, it was a Rebel 2000. This is film, people, all right? So I had a film camera back in the day. I got the Rebel 2000, as you can imagine, it was around the year 2000. And I got a 51.4. Kind of wish I kept that lens from back in the day, but I kind of like the limiting factor of just having like a fixed focal length, plus you end up typically with a prime lens that has the wide aperture, which, you know, for people that don't know, I think if you're watching this, you probably know, but like the background's a little blurred back there. It looks kind of good. And as soon as I started moving to, you know, these nicer lenses to do live streams on YouTube versus a webcam, I mean, it's such a huge difference. And, you know, audio is obviously important. But once I got the video in line and very good audio, my live streams are through the roof, right? Much better quality, and people notice as well. All right, so I'm gonna pull out a battery, start playing around with this thing, see what it can do. All right, I wanted to test this out as like a sort of a vlogging setup here. And I have my, what do I have on here? This is a Shure lens hopper microphone on top, so I'm recording into that. I'm in a relatively echoey room, so this is like the main kitchen area. It's like the kitchen, living room. There's not a ton on the walls. It is wood floor in here, so it's a little more echoey. There's a big glass, sliding glass window back there, and another huge window over there, so fairly echoey. And of course I'm using the lens hopper here, so that helps the audio. And one cool thing is I actually see the audio levels on the viewfinder over there, which is great. And this is, you know, probably a setup that I'm going to use often. I know this is not a sort of classic vlogging camera. There's some smaller ones out there, some cheaper ones out there, but I am probably going to be taking a lot of pictures with this camera. Additionally, I kind of wanted like a lighter, smaller setup so that my other camera, the T7i, can be more of this sort of studio camera, the one that I do live streams with. So I just wanted to test this out, and it is mounted. I'll put a picture of this, like how I have this set up here, but I have the, what do you call these? Gorilla Pods. I have a little Gorilla Pod here that I could just sort of hold out, and I'm using the 35mm here, and it's set at 1.8, so it's wide open, and you know, I think it looks cool. I mean, I'm looking at the viewfinder over there. I think it looks good. I think it looks really pretty nice. And I took the camera out this morning when I was walking the dog. My Gorilla Pod's kind of a piece of crap here. It's kind of falling apart. I need to get a new one. But basically, I took the camera out this morning. I'm like laying on the table here. I took the camera out this morning, took some pictures, and it was a great experience overall. This is definitely the nicest camera I've ever had. So pretty pumped to take some more pictures and just walk around. I'm going to be traveling soon in a few days. I'm going to be flying actually, so I'll bring a little vlog style setup. I'll probably have to wear a mask going through the airport and all that, but I'll record anyway, you know, with the mask on, because it should be able to work. And I'll be able to, I won't have my dog with me. My dog takes up a lot of time, which is great, but I won't have my dog with me. I'm going to be visiting my family in Atlanta, my parents. So I'll just be like in my childhood home. I'll be able to walk around the neighborhood, take some pictures, and just kind of do my thing. Maybe even head down to the downtown area in Lawrenceville and take some pictures down there. So anyway, I'm going to show you a couple of sort of comparisons with the T7i and this EOS R. So we have the EOS RP here, and then we have the Canon T7i right here. This has the 35mm 1.8 lens, and this one has the 18 to 35, the Sigma 1.8, which is a beast. It's beautiful, but it's so freaking heavy, and I just, you know, don't love carrying it around. It's great to shoot my videos and stuff in the office and that sort of thing, but vlogging, I mean, I'm very strong and I work out, but this thing is just a little heavy to carry around. I'm just kidding about that. Very strong and working out stuff. But this other lens, like I mentioned before, the 10 to 18 is a more comparable size. So I'll put this one on here and we'll have a little bit better of a comparison. This is a fantastic vlogging lens, and I do not have the adapter yet, but I'll probably use the adapter and it'll turn into I guess if I do the math right, it will turn into like a 16 to roughly a 27, 26, whatever it is, but it'll end up being a nice wide angle vlogging camera when I put this baby on with the adapter. So you can see already the RP is remarkably smaller. Just looking at the size of the little built-in flash here, which I never use, and just the height and that sort of thing, the weight as well. And then, I mean, this lens is a little bit bigger than the 35mm over there, but it is a zoom, of course, and they roughly, these two lenses weigh pretty close to the same, and I can actually feel the difference. Actually, when I'm comparing them, just picking them up, they feel pretty close to the same, but I think the RP may be a tad heavier. I'm not sure. Actually, let me weigh it. Right, I think we can see 0 grams there, so we'll do the T7i first. And it's gonna check in at 794 grams with this setup here. And then let's check the RP. It is 810 grams, so it's a little bit heavier in the real life setup here, so I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. This is a little denser package, apparently, but I actually thought the T7i was going to be a little heavier. I guess this lens is fairly light, but it is a smaller setup in general, and you know, obviously I'm happy with it. Just a few grams off. It's not a huge difference there. All right, now I'm shooting on my iPhone, so I can hold both of these cameras and just kind of talk about them and the feel. So for my hands specifically, honestly, it doesn't make a huge difference. They both feel pretty good. Obviously, the RP is a little bit smaller, as I keep saying, and you can see sort of this grip area is a little bit bigger on the T7i, but there's still a substantial one over here on the RP. From a control standpoint, I had a T2i before this T7i, and before that I had a couple film cameras from Canon, and I think roughly the control dials were pretty close to this. And going from the T2i to the T7i, it's almost exactly the same. I don't even know if there's anything different. There could be a different maybe slightly different location for a couple of the buttons, but it's roughly identical. If that is a way to put things, it's very close. So there was not much of a transition going to the T7i. I just knew how to use it automatically. There's a few differences here. You can see the control dial here. In this area, there's a control dial. This obviously makes sense. The on-off switch is over here on the left side, which is a change. So I, instinctually, I usually, am imagining I turn it on over here, but it's actually over here and it's not the same kind of switch. I do like the look and feel of these switches. They do seem more substantial for sure. And just in general, it'll take a little bit of getting used to, but not a ton. I think as I use it more, probably, by the end of my travel, by the end of my trip, it'll be second nature, in a lot of ways. And it is, it is funny. I think I probably mentioned it earlier, but this is a smaller camera. It's one of the reasons why I picked it. A little bit smaller, and it's the full frame, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second. But the other, like the RF lenses are just huge. They're on par with this baby, which is just giant. It is, I should have weighed this when I had the scale out, but this Sigma, awesome lens, great glass, a lot of glass. It is heavy. So it's just funny when I think about the balance, this is super well balanced. And this camera, the T7i, with this 10 to 18, super well balanced too. But if you have when I put this lens on this body, because obviously 35 1.8 here, 35 1.8 here, but the portability and just the overall handling of this, it'll be a great like travel camera and just walking around sort of thing. And vlogging too. It'll just be a little bit lighter, a little bit easier. You're not as versatile, but there's trade-offs, of course. And one aside, this is kind of funny. So I was taking this out in shooting this morning, and I set it up to do raw images, which I've had a few cameras, and I've always just shot JPEGs. And I think at one point, probably 10 years ago, I decided, hey, I don't want to go through the mess of like having to do any kind of processing with these images. I just want to like shoot the image and then be able to share it or print it online or whatever I want to do. So I decided I was going to shoot raw on this RP, and then I was like, oh, okay, what do I do with it? So I had to download some software to actually process the image and all that stuff. But it occurred to me that I'm a moron, because I have gone on some once in a lifetime type trips, and there are definitely shots where I need to be able to tweak it a little bit more, and I've played with the color curves and the brightness and some other stuff. I'm not a photo editor. I'm not trained at all, but basically I realized that I probably could have saved a handful of images. Like the one I'm thinking of, there's a picture. I went to Alaska last summer, and I went to Denali National Park. I took the bus tour. I got all the way to where you could see the mountain, and the sky cleared. It was cloudy all day, and then the sky cleared. I could see Denali Mountain from the base to the peak, which I guess is fairly rare. I mean, it clears up every now and then, and sometimes you can see just the top, but it was clear. However, it was a little bit hazy, and I took a picture, and there's just not enough like detail there. But if I would have shot raw, I probably could tweak it and probably get to where it needs to be. I'll see what I could do, but I think it's just really hard to actually see the mountain. It just kind of blends in with the sky because it was so hazy. So anyway, I will be attempting to shoot raw, at least on the days where it matters, where I actually may want to do something, maybe want to print the photo or something like that. Most of the time, I'm just having a good time, shooting some pictures and sharing them on a website or something like that. So anyway, if you have questions about these two cameras, let me know. I'll be using the RP much more in the next few weeks, and I will probably be doing like videos where I'm using the RP along with this lens, the 18 to 35, along with this lens, the 10 to 18, and that sort of thing, just so I can get an understanding of how it is to handle and that sort of thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. And if you're brand new to the channel, I normally talk about internet marketing and SEO, making money online, stuff like that. But I do have some vlogs, and I am probably going to be doing more, photo, video, gear kind of reviews. I have a pretty nice setup that I really enjoy using. I don't talk about it that much, but I would love to go a little bit deeper. So if you're interested in like learning how to make money online and stuff, watch some of the other videos. There's a lot of success stories, and you may learn something. And if you like it, please subscribe.